Two popular Minecraft YouTubers recently proposed solutions to server currency design. Pinecone LP argued for wheat as a currency, but only if you ban farms, set world borders, and disable bone meal. Break the rules, death penalty. KCJ proposed nether star-backed securities with fractional reserve banking. Basically, create paper money backed by only a fraction of actual nether stars. Both claims these are economically sound solutions, and I would argue both are completely wrong. And today I'm going to show you why using Austrian economics, a school of thought that brought you sound money theory and predicted the 2008 financial crisis, will actually work best compared to both these solutions. Before we get to the Austrian solution or idea of how this could work, let me quickly summarize what these YouTubers are proposing. Pinecone LP says use wheat as currency, but you need massive government or server intervention, world borders to limit supply, farming is illegal and punishable by death, and bone meal is disabled. Basically turn wheat into a scarce resource through force. KCJ proposes nether stars as the base money or currency, but then create a fractional reserve banking system where you use your paper currency backed by only a fraction of actual nether stars in reserve. So if you have 10 nether stars, you might issue 100 nether star notes. Both claim these are good economic systems, and as someone who's studied finance and economics, I'm here to tell you that although these systems are in real world use, especially with the US government, I would say these are textbook examples of what an Austrian economics professor, individual, or studier would not recommend. Austrian economics have very specific requirements for sound money. Let's go through each one. Scarcity. The supply must be limited. If you can print unlimited amounts of money, it's not money, it's monopoly money. Durability. It can't decay or disappear. Now in Minecraft, this means no items that despawn or degrade. Unfortunately, as we all know, not every item degrades, but every item despawns at some point through death. Unless server rules are manipulated to allow items to never despawn, but that's generally a bad practice. Divisibility, you need to be able to make change. If your smallest unit is worth 1,000,000 diamonds, you can't buy bread. Fungibility, every unit must be identical and interchangeable. One gold ingot equals any other gold ingot. Portability, you need to be able to carry it and transfer it easily. But here's the sixth requirement that everyone forgets. The market must choose it voluntarily. Money imposed by force, what economics call fiat currency, always fails eventually. We've seen this through many different empires through time. I mean, if you look at the Roman Empire, everybody likes that empire, but a libertarian or Austrian economist, or most people generally would say one of the large reasons it failed was because the currency devalued to the point of instability. Now we can do a whole history lesson on that, but let's not get into that right now. So this is where both proposals fall apart. Let's start with wheat. Let's analyze Pinecone LP's wheat proposal using Austrian economic principles, or generally economic principles. His argument goes like this. Wheat is naturally abundant, so to make it scarce enough for currency, you need to artificially restrict supply. World border limit total will make the wheat in existence a lot less. Banning farms prevents production. Now, he didn't say farms as a total, but he said automatic farms. And then disabling bone meal slows the growth of the production. And then a death penalty would exist for farming using automatic farmers, so that way it'll ensure compliance. Now, on paper, this creates scarcity, but in practice, this creates economic tyranny. Now, the first problem is your artificial scarcity. Austrian economics distinguish between natural scarcity and artificial scarcity. Natural scarcity would be something like ancient debris. It's rare because it's hard to find and mine. The difficulty comes from the nature, not the rules. Now, artificial scarcity is wheat. Wheat is naturally abundant, but you use force to make it rare. The scarcity comes from the threat of violence and then server manipulations. Mises would call this galactic intervention, using force to prevent voluntary exchange. And he spent his entire career showing why this fails. Now, problem 2 is a knowledge problem. Now, Hayek's knowledge problem asks, how do administrators know the right amount of a wheat to allow? Too much wheat, you get inflation, currency becomes worthless. Too little wheat, you get deflation, the economy grinds to a halt. In a real economy, prices signal this information automatically. In the wheat system, admins have to guess, and they'll guess wrong, almost typically always. Now, your problem 3 is the enforcement. You need to enforce these rules constantly. So you'd be monitoring world borders, you'd be detecting illegal farms, you have to try and catch bone meal use, and then you also have to execute violators. This requires a massive surveillance state, so you're spending a lot more resources, which primarily is your time in Minecraft, on enforcement than the economy generates in value. Austrian economics call this dead weight loss. Pure waste that makes everyone poor. But here's where it gets really dystopian. Once you start central planning, you can't stop. Every intervention requires another intervention to fix the problems caused by the first interventions. So let's do an example. Players will hide underground automatic farms, so you need X-ray detection. Now players will use alt accounts, so you need to ban alts. And then players will trade wheat secretly, so that way you don't even know as a moderator. So now you need to monitor all transactions. Now players will use other items as money, so you need to ban alternative currencies. This is what Mises calls a hamster wheel of interventionism. You start with one rule and end up with a totalitarian nightmare. And for what? To artificially make wheat scarce when there are naturally scarce items sitting right there. The real problem is wheat is naturally abundant because it's supposed to be abundant. It's food. Making food artificially scarce is economic insanity. It's like saying we'll use bread as money in real life, but to keep it scarce, we'll ban bakeries and execute anyone caught making bread. You'd rightfully call this tyranny. So why is it okay in Minecraft, especially trying to simulate a real economy? Austrian economics say if you need this much force to make something into money, it's not money, it's violence wearing a currency costume. Now let's talk about KCJ's Nether Star-backed securities with fractional reserve banking. Now this sounds sophisticated, it sounds like real banking, but it's exactly what Austrian economics have been warning against for a century. Now here's how fractional reserve banking works. You deposit 10 Nether Stars in a vault, but instead of only issuing 10 notes worth 1 star each, you issue 100 notes or 1,000 notes. The notes aren't fully backed, only a fraction is reserved. Now here's a theory. Most people won't redeem their notes at the same time, so it's fine to issue more notes than you have stars. KCJ argues this is ideal because Nether Stars are too rare for small transactions. Fractional reserves create liquidity. It's how real banks work, and it allows economic growth. Now, an Austrian response would be, this is fraud. And I'm not being, trying to hype it up or anything, but Murray Rothbard literally wrote a book called The Case Against the Fed, arguing that fractional reserve banking is legalized fraud. Here's why. The fundamental problem with fractional reserve banking is bank runs. Now let's walk through a scenario. Week 1, you have 10 Nether Stars. You issue 100 Nether Star notes. Players trade these notes. Everything seems fine. Week 2, a rumor spreads that you don't have enough stars to back the notes. 20 players show up to redeem their notes because they're thinking you're a giant fraud and they want their money. You have 10 stars. They want 20 stars. You can't pay. Your bank fails. Boom. This is what happened in the 1920s. 90 players are holding worthless paper. They just discovered their money was fictional. But wait, KCJ would argue, what if it doesn't collapse? True, fractional reserve systems can last a long time if confidence holds. That's why economics measure consumer confidence. But this doesn't make them sound, it makes them a ticking time bomb. Mises called this the boom and bust cycle. Now here's how it would work in Minecraft. The boom, you issue 100 notes backed by 10 stars. Players spend these notes freely. Economic activity increases, everyone feels wealthy. This is again, look at the 1920s. Just watch The Great Gatsby. It's not totally accurate, but it was similar to that. The bus. Someone tries to redeem. Bank has insufficient reserves. Confidence collapses. Bank run destroys everything. Now, the Austrian insight to this isn't stability. Honestly, anybody would tell you this. This isn't stability, it's a bubble. You create fake wealth through monetary expansion. Eventually, reality catches up. This is what exactly caused the 2008 financial crisis, the Great Depression, pretty much every major banking panic in history. And KCJ wants to import this system into Minecraft. I would argue that's a bad idea. Okay, so I've spent about 12 minutes tearing apart both proposals. You're probably thinking, all right, smart guy, what's your solution? Now, here's where it gets interesting and maybe controversial, and, it doesn't sound that sophisticated. So here's the Austrian solution. It's to do nothing. I'm serious. Based on everything I've read, like Mises' writings, Ludwig von Mises wrote an excellent book that you need to read at some point. And he wrote about the regression theorem and the theory of money and credit. Now here's what he would do if he actually ran the Minecraft server. Step 1, he'd start with pure barter, no imposed currency, no rules about what can or can't be used as money. Step 2, observe which items naturally become most traded. Step 3, let the market organically select the money. Step 4, accept whatever emerges, even if theoretically imperfect. Step 5, never intervene, even if the market quote-unquote chooses wrong. Let me explain why this is actually the most sophisticated economic approach, not the laziest. Mises's regression theorem is one of the most important insights in monetary theory. Here's basically what it says. Money must emerge from a commodity that was already valued for non-monetary use. You can't just declare something to be money, it has to evolve naturally for a specific process. Now here's how it works in Minecraft, and frankly, this is usually how it works. So week 1, you have pure barter. Player A, I'll trade 32 cobblestone for 8 bread. Player B, I'll give 16 iron for that diamond sword. Direct exchange only. Week 2, indirect exchange emerges. Player notices some items are easier to trade than others. Diamonds are always in demand, pretty much in most servers. Someone accepts diamonds, not to use them, but to trade them later. This is a critical moment. Accepting something for its exchange value, not use value. Week 3 to 4, money crystallizes. Prices start forming in terms of the most marketable good. Then enchanted book, 3 diamonds. Stack of iron, half a diamond. The market has organically chosen its money. Now here's why this matters. Both the wheat and nether star proposal violate this process. Wheat with artificial restrictions isn't organically chosen, it's imposed for force. Nether star notes aren't valued for their own properties, they're valued only because someone promises they're backed, and that promise is a lie in fractional reserve banking. True money emerges from the market recognizing certain commodities as most suitable for exchange. You can't shortcut this process with rules or banking schemes. Here's where Austrian economics gets really interesting and where it differs from both mainstream economics and other Austrian wannabes who focus only on theory. Theory says the best money would be ancient debris. It's perfectly scarce, non-renewable, can't be farmed, requires proof of work to obtain. It's perfect. The market says diamonds work better. Yes, Fortune 3 creates inflation. Yes, late game players accumulate huge amounts, but diamonds are divisible, widely useful, and valuable enough for transactions. Now, here's a question. Who's right, the theorist or the market? Mises's answer would always be the market. This might sound crazy. Surely economists know better than random Minecraft players about currency design, right? Wrong. And Hayek explained why with his knowledge problem. The knowledge problem applied is, why does the market choose diamonds over ancient debris? Because the market has information no single person possesses. Players know their trading patterns, players know their inventory management preferences, players know which items they encounter regularly, players also know their server-specific conditions. Ancient debris might be theoretically superior from my point of view, but it's practically useless for everyday transactions. The market figured this out immediately, the theorists didn't. This is Hayek's key insight. Markets aggregate dispersed knowledge that no central planner can access. When players choose diamonds despite inflation, they're not being stupid, they're making sophisticated trade-offs between scarcity and usability that they can't even articulate. You have to trust the process. So what would actually happen on a pure Austrian server with no intervention? Well, based on economic theory and actual server data from places like Hermitcraft and MC, here's a likely progression. So early game, you have weeks 1 through 2, iron and gold dominate as currencies. Why? They're useful for tools, armor, relatively common and divisible. Gold has nuggets. Prices are chaotic and unstable as market finds equilibrium. That's fine. Mid-game, you'd find diamonds become the dominant medium, iron/gold shift to small denomination transactions, price stability increases as patterns emerge. Some servers see emerald gain traction and villager trading is limited. And then late game, you have the market settles on 2 to 3 tier system. So you have your high value goods, which is diamonds or netherite, medium value gold ingots, small change, which would be like your change would be something like iron or gold ingots. Exchange rates between tiers determined by market, not admin decree. System becomes self-regulating. Now here's a key observation. Notice what didn't happen. No weave death penalties, no fractional reserve schemes, no admin intervention. The market sorted itself out through voluntary exchange. Now, what about inflation? Yes, diamond inflation occurs as Fortune 3 pickaxes proliferate, but the market compensates automatically. Prices denominated in diamonds rise. Players adjust expectations. Exchange rates between items float freely. The economy continues functioning. This is what Austrian means by market self-correction. Problems don't require intervention, they require freedom to adjust. So here's the paradox. Mises would accept diamonds as money even though they're technically inferior to ancient debris. Why? Because market choice is greater than theoretical purity. Freedom to choose badly is better than being forced to choose correctly. Let's bring this together and be crystal clear about why both proposals fail from an Austrian perspective. The wheat proposal fatal flaw is central planning. The system requires omniscient administrators who know the exact right amount of wheat to permit, can perfectly enforce farm bans without error, can predict all player workarounds, never abuse their surveillance power either. Hayek proved this is impossible. The knowledge required exceeds human capacity. The wheat system is literally Minecraft Soviet Union. It will fail for the exact same reasons. Now, the nether star proposal's fatal flaw is fractional reserve. The system requires blind trust in bankers to not overissue notes, players who don't understand they're being defrauded, player information hiding so players never discover the lie, no bank runs or confident crisis. Rothbard proved this is unsustainable. Bank runs are inevitable, not exceptional. The nether star system is literally Minecraft Wall Street 2008, and it will fail for the exact same reasons. Now here's a common thread. Both proposals rely on force or deception to create money that the market wouldn't naturally choose. Wheat isn't naturally scarce. I've never been in a Minecraft server where everyone says, I'm going to use wheat as the money. They use force to make it scarce. That's not right. Nether star is too rare. They use deception to multiply them through paper notes. Austrian economics say if you need force or fraud to make your money work, it's not money, it's tyranny or a scam. Alright, here's the actual Austrian solution for a Minecraft server economy. So here's how you configure a server. You have no admin spawn items, so no creative, no price controls, no production restriction, no mandated currency, no fractional reserve banking, and anti-cheat or anti-duping strictly enforced. Now here's what you would allow. You'd allow pretty much everything. I mean, you'd have a pure barter system, multiple competing currencies, free banking, private contracts, and market-determined prices. No official exchange rates. The only rules would be no duping or cheating. This is pretty much counterfeiting. 100% reserve requirement. If you must issue something, you must have full backing. This is naturally occurs in a barter system. And no fraud. You can't claim backing you don't have. I hope this video gave you a different perspective on Minecraft economics and maybe even real-world economics. The wheat system and their star fractional reserve system sound sophisticated, but they're not. They're textbook examples of economic fallacies that Austrian economics have been dunking for over a century. If you want to create a thriving Minecraft economy, follow Mises, Hayek, and Rothbard. Let the markets work, let the players work. I want to hear from you. Comment below what currency has naturally merged on your Minecraft server. Did anyone actually try to impose a system and how did it work out?